in Lenox, Alabama, March the 6th, 2024. Tonight's Whack an Atheist. We're going to whack a guy named Clint. Poor guy. I don't think he's an atheist, but he sure supports the atheist cause with his Reptile channel. And he mentioned me in there, so self-defense is perfectly fine. I'm going to explain it to you, Clint. You're not going to like it. Okay. Anyway, we're on a bunch of different channels. TikTok, Rumble, 4 different YouTube channels. Pick one. If they shut one down, go to another one. And Odyssey, they're all listed on drdino.com. Any questions, call 855-BIG-DINO and extension 4. That's the tech guy. He'll handle it. Or extension 5? What extension are you? You playing?
D is 5 on 0.
You're 0. Okay. All right. We're on Brighton and Facebook and a bunch more. Independent, temperamental, fundamental, right-wing, radical, chicken-eating Baptist Church. Come on down and join us. We'd love to have you here. We have some special music this Sunday, and it's not me. Oksana and her husband will be here. She'll be singing songs. She sings in Russian, English, Hebrew, and Spanish, not all at once, one at a time. I met them years ago. They came to Pensacola when I was down there, and you're going to sing or two songs. They're just coming through the area. I want you to meet them and hear about their ministry. We are straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. They don't need a cabin, by the way. They got their own motorhome. Okay? We're in Lenox, Alabama, where God gets the glory for his creation, at least at our place, instead of the stupid evolution religion. With all the crazy weather here, there's no hay to be found in southern Alabama. One guy drove 5 giant round bales of hay from Michigan down here, and he's going back for more. Praise God. The cows love him. Okay? But if you're coming this way and can bring any hay, they just didn't get any in Alabama this year. Okay, March the 6th, Clint's Reptiles tonight. Whack an Atheist. Right, if you want to help us to open for free, join us. I've got my whack shirt on. Somebody made, one even got my picture on it. Do you know who made those for me? Cool. I don't know. The other one of my pictures in the closet with all my other 10,000 Hawaiian shirts. If you want to help us to open for free, join our 777 club. Say, I like what they're doing. I'm going to support them. $1 a month, $1 a day, $1 a year, whatever, something. If you just call Sandra, 855-BIG-DINO, extension 1, if you want to know more about it. drdino.com, our website, and all our channels are listed there. Open for almost 8 years now for free because people help support us. Okay, let's see. Tonight, we play Whack an Atheist on Wednesday, like the whack-a-mole game. They stick their head up, say something silly, and you whack them back down. Whack-a-mole game, mole sticks his head up, and you whack him back down. How many moles can you whack down in 1 minute? I've never played the game, is it? Okay, well, I think I might have one time years ago. Anyway, it's fun, it's fast. The mole sticks his head up. The goal is to see how fast you can whack them back down. Small children can learn to play it. Adults love to play it. With Whack an Atheist, we wait for an atheist to say something silly and claim that his evolution religion is true, and we whack them back down swiftly and sweetly with real science and Christian love, of course. So, had to whack a few more times than one. Okay? They just don't get it. Keep sticking their head up. Okay, actually, I really enjoy doing this. That's a much better cutout job, brother. You did that?
No, Crybaby did it? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Creation Crybaby. So tonight, the winner of the whack-a-mole game is Clint's Reptiles. Man, over 600,000 subscribers on his channel. Produces a lot of good stuff on reptiles, but Clint, you are dead wrong about a major activity here, and we're going to explain it to you tonight. Clint's Reptile Academy. Adults and kid camps available. This is in Utah, okay? Summer camp. Meet Clint and Leisha, husband and wife duo, curriculum planners. Clint has a PhD in biology education, as well-known for his educational YouTube channel, Clint's Reptiles. Clint taught at UVB and BYU, that's Brigham Young University, a Mormon school. I would assume he's a Mormon by what I saw of his thing here. Let's see. Contact us. There we are, Utah, Springville, Utah. Gorillas are monkeys, and so are you. This is one of Clint's videos. 4 weeks ago, it's already got 91,000 people watching it. Clint, you may be a monkey. I am not, okay? And you are not either, right? He said, it is impossible to change a dinosaur into a bird. That is correct. It's impossible to change any animal into any other kind of animal, Clint. But when Clint did his program on this one a couple days ago, somebody said, oh, you got to watch this. Clint's talking about you. He spent the first 23 minutes talking about, had somebody from Answers in Genesis on there, and was showing him teaching about birds cannot come from reptiles, and they cannot, okay? Nothing produces babies other than their kind. Nothing does that, Clint. Nothing, okay? But then at the 23-minute mark, he brought me in there. And here's what he said Oh, I got to call that one up, don't I? Wow. Let's see. Clint's. Got to go. Take me 1 second here, folks. I thought I had everything ready to go tonight. Clint's Reptiles. There we go. Okay. And now I got to drag it over on that screen. Oh, gee. You would not believe. It's a good thing I never complain, isn't it? I tell my wife that all the time. Boy, it's a good thing I never complain. 23. Pause. Okay. Here we go. Clint, let's get you over here where everybody can see it. We did not test the audio on this then, did we? Oh, he's got it. Okay, what happened here? Let's see what he says about it. Somebody push a button, somebody, make it work, okay? It's not working. Joseph, I can't hear him. I'm
It's not out, it's flipping out of Bluetooth.
Fix it, Joseph. That's where you get the big bucks.
Said he wasn't using
Okay, it's not playing. I just shut it off, waiting for you. Ready to try it? Let's see. The joys of live shows.
The best in a given environment. Not deliberately, just as a consequence of that unequal reproductive success over multiple generations. And all of this is repeatedly observable. This doesn't mean that all genetic information originated in random, unguided mutation, but saying that we have never observed a gain of information, that's just false.
And that's just false what you just said. Show me where we've seen a gain in information. Clint, I challenge you to a debate. Call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 4. Book them, Joseph. Okay, here we go.
He said, hey, folks, would you like me to give you a tour? We said, that would be great, sir. Well, the first place we stopped on the tour was the geologic time chart. So we're standing over there, and the guide said, now, folks, this layer of rock right here is about 70 million years old. Well, my daughter was 12 years old at the time. She raised her hand. She said, mister, how do you know that layer is 70 million years old? He said, honey, that's a good question. We tell the age of the layers by what types of fossils we find in them. They're called index fossils. And by the way, that's correct. That's what the textbook said. Scientists use index fossils to determine the age of rock layers. She said, thank you, sir. We walked around the other side. We're standing over here, and the guide said, now, folks, these bones are about 100 million years old. My daughter raised her hand again. She said, sir, how do you know those bones are 100 million years old? He said, well, honey, we tell the age of the bones by which layer they came from. She said, sir, when we were standing over there, you told me you knew the age of the layers by the bones, and now you're telling me you know the age of the bones by the layers. She said, isn't that circular reasoning? He looked at my daughter, he looked at me. I wasn't about to help him. I thought, wow, this is going to be good. I have got to hear this. He looked back at my daughter, he said, wow, you're right, that is circular reasoning. He said, I never thought of that before. That fellow drove 50 miles one way that night to come hear me speak in Union Center, South Dakota. The crowd swelled to 39. We set up a chair.
Okay, so this is Kent Hovind telling about a visit that he and his daughter had to a museum. The museum guide, when talking about the geologic timetable, explained that the layers were dated by fossils called index fossils. And then he explained that some other fossils, bones, were dated by the layer that they came from. And his daughter, Kent Hovind's daughter, pointed out that the guide said that they knew the age of the layers by the bones and the bones by the layers. And that this was circular reasoning. And this left the guide dumbfounded and in agreement that this was circular reasoning. Now, I should mention that while Kent Hovind is one of the best-known creationists, even Answers in Genesis has criticized him for using poor arguments that have been abandoned by most of the young earth creationist movement.
Okay. Clint, I don't work for them. I don't care what they think, okay? I'm glad they're doing what they're doing. They're plowing their row. I'm plowing my row. Now, apparently you don't care that some of the things you are saying have been abandoned by common sense people. You're still teaching the evolution religion, which has been abandoned by millions of people. So it doesn't matter what Answers in Genesis thinks of me. I don't work for them, period, okay? Now, we're going to talk about you tonight and what you think about these geologic columns, okay? So let's go ahead.
So he doesn't necessarily speak for all young earth creationists.
I do speak for all the people who are right, though.
But I do see this clip presented very often in the groups where I engage in many of these discussions. So it is definitely worth talking about.
Right.
Okay. Is this an example of circular reasoning?
Yes.
As presented, yeah, absolutely. Unless you know what an index fossil is and how they became index fossils.
Clint, that's the point. There are no index fossils. They claim if you find this kind of fossil, that fossil dates the rock layer. You are doing exactly what I said and claiming it's not true. Yet you're admitting it's true. I'll show you. Just hang in there.
Fossils are common fossils that appear over a very broad geographic range, but only for a fairly short temporal range. Over a lot of area, but only for a short period of time.
And how do you know the index fossil only appears for a short period of time? Why is the trilobite an index fossil when there's overwhelming evidence that trilobites are still alive for 450 million years? How come we didn't find them in the other rock layers, Clint? There's no such thing as an index fossil, okay? But we'll take some more in a minute here.
History. That last part is the most important part, because if they only existed for a relatively short period of time, then...
Clint, stop and think. You're claiming you know they only existed for a short period of time because of the layers they're found in. So the layers determine the age of the fossils, and the fossils determine the age of the layers. I've been asking evolutionists for a long time, if the top layer is younger, where did it come from? Outer space? And their answer is, well, that's the date that it got positioned. It got moved from here to here. Oh, and that changed the date? Well, Clint, I've got a special experiment just for you tonight. Now pay attention. You see this fish fossil found in sedimentary rock? I'm going to move it on top of my coffee cup. Now, I know the coffee cup is made of clay. This was made about 3 years ago, specially for me, Dr. Kent Hovind, the science gent. Now watch. As soon as I move this fish on top of my coffee cup, now I know it's less than 3 years old, because the coffee cup is 3 years old. Is that right? Did I get it right? This now has to be less than 3 years old. It's on top, Clint. Think about it. Yeah. The law of superposition. I just positioned it on top. It is superimposed on top of the coffee cup. Let's go. Here's more. Okay.
Their presence can be used to estimate the age of the rock layers where they're found.
You just said it, Clint. They're using the fossils to estimate the age of the rock layers. How can you not get this?
Because they only existed at that point in
You
time.
don't know
but
that.
How do we know when and for how long they existed? This is the key. And the answer isn't from the bones. That would be circular reasoning. Fortunately, index fossils are not the only means that we have to date rock layers.
Wait a minute. Did you just admit it again? You date the rock layers by the index fossil? I think you just admitted it again, Clint. How can you not see the circular reasoning here? Go ahead.
One of the most valuable and widely applicable methods is radiometric dating.
Now, Clint, all the radiometric dating methods, potassium argon, rubidium strontium, lead-208, lead-206, uranium-238, they were all invented in the last 70 years. 1950, Willard Libby, University of Chicago, invented carbon dating. There are numerous problems with carbon dating, as you should well know. And if you watch my video number 7 on my seminar series, $50 for the whole thing, 18 hours, I cover in great detail the problems with carbon dating. But I'm going to cover something else tonight. If you trust carbon dating, you're really an idiot. Methods have serious problems, and they were all invented in the last 70 years. Back in 1830, 120 years before any radiometric dating was thought of, that's when they made up the geologic column and the index fossils. So now, if the carbon date they obtained does not match the geologic date from the index fossils, they'll throw out the carbon date. Yeah. If you found a dinosaur bone and had flesh with it, like what's her name? Schwartz, the girl lady. What? Mary Schweitzer in North Carolina. If you test the soft tissue found with that dinosaur bone and it came back with carbon dating to be, say, 10,000 years old, would you accept it? Or would you say, wait, that's a dinosaur. We know it's millions of years old. How do you know it's millions of years old? Because of the geologic column. Oh. So you would reject the carbon date of soft tissue in dinosaur and dozens of examples have been found of soft tissue in dinosaurs. Dozens of examples have been found in the last 15 years. They're finding it all the time. Dinosaur bones will still have soft tissue that you could carbon date, but you won't, will you? Because you'll say carbon dating doesn't go back far enough. Doesn't go back far enough for what? Well, to match the age we want it to be. We want it to be 70 million so it doesn't upset all the media and all the textbooks we've written about that. You want it to be 70 million. You would reject the carbon date. So don't tell me all these radiometric dating methods are any kind of help and they somehow prove the age of the layers. This is pure propaganda, Clint, and you should know that if you have a PhD in biology. I'm sorry they lied to you about that. And you went to a Mormon university and they really lied to you about a bunch of things, okay? But let's see. I want to skip up to one more thing about the layers, Clint. Let's see. I'll just play for a minute here. Okay.
Radiometric dating allows us to utilize our knowledge of radioactive decay to estimate the age of samples containing radioactive elements. For example, uranium. Two forms of uranium, U-236 and U-238, can each be used to date rock samples. This is because of our knowledge of how long it takes for half of a sample of uranium.
All right. I cover all this in great detail, refuting what you're saying here. You're right. We know how long it takes to decay today. We can accurately measure how much is in it today. But you have to assume it's always decayed at the same rate, and you have to assume you know how much was in it when it started, and you'd have to assume there's been no contamination. There are many things that can affect that, okay? Excess radiation from the sun, solar flares from the sun. Carbon dating has been disproven dozens of times with major universities. But you guys got to hang on to that. Okay, I want to get to the part about the geologic column. Let me skip back to my slides here. Whack an atheist. Right here. I'm going to play the video. That's at 10:33. Well, hang on. There. Okay. There is no such thing as a geologic column, Clint. There is no such thing. I'm going to burst your bubble. It's a tooth fairy here. I know you believe there's Santa Claus and all this kind of stuff. There isn't. There's no Easter bunny. Charles Lyell made up this as a British lawyer who hated the Bible, and he and Lyell and Hutton and Cuvier and some other guys made up this stupid geologic column that does not exist anywhere. We'll cover that in great detail about a couple weeks ago. I keep asking people if the layers are not different ages. They say the layers are different ages. I say no, they're not. If they are, where's the top one coming from? Is it coming from outer space? You have there at the bottom left-hand corner of the column the trilobite, supposed to be one of the first creatures to evolve. Index fossil for Cambrian. It's got the most complex eye ever. No animal's ever had an eye as complex as the trilobite. And you think that's the first one to evolve? And some trilobites were huge. I mean, 4 foot. Okay? This geologic column does not exist. But this is your Bible now, okay? If you shake up a jar of dirt and water and mud, it'll separate into layers in seconds. Try it. Is the top layer younger? No. We flip this thing over, make 20 or 30 layers, and a few, probably 50 this time. Are the layers different ages? No, they're all in here at the same time. This geologic column is stupid. There is no geologic column. The layers are all the same age, all from 1 year of Noah's flood, from the tide going up, down, in, out, in, out. Make a new layer every 6 hours, 12 minutes. That's why you have petrified trees found standing up, running through all the layers, because they all formed in 1 year. There is no geologic column, Clint, and you are using circular reasoning to justify it. Let's see. The Earth does have layers of rock. One option is they form slowly over millions of years. You've chosen to believe that. The other option is they're all from the flood of Noah. But you guys are always trying to erase that line and include your theory with part of the fact. And your theory is just nothing but a theory. The geologic column is the Bible for the atheist and evolutionist. It can only be found one place in the world, in the textbooks. This earth science teacher admitted it, textbook author. If there were a column of sediments, unfortunately, no such column exists. It doesn't? No. It only exists in the imagination and in the textbook. Okay? If it did exist, it'd be 100 miles thick. That's line number 7 on my video 4, lies in the textbooks. Okay, here we go. Salt domes, index fossils. Here we go. We got the trilobite, bottom left corner, the Cambrian period. Oh, really? Okay. The fossil record helps paleontologists and geologists place important events and species in the appropriate geologic era. There they go, dating the fossils by the layer they're found in. Clint, that's how they do it. That in undisturbed rock sequences, the bottom layers are older than the top. Well, that's just plain baloney. The bottom layers are not older than the top. This is what started the whole problem with this stupid geologic column. Do I have the video now, or do you have it, brother, to play?
I have it.
Okay. Go ahead and play that. This is part of the video of experiments in stratification. You all need to watch the whole thing. We're going to play a little clip. Okay, hang on. Yeah, stop right there. This guy is in a laboratory in Colorado, and hit pause for a second. He's in the laboratory, and he's pouring sediments, different colors of sand, into moving water. And it forms 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 layers horizontally. The layers don't form this way, Clint. They form this way. Every time the moon pulls the tide up, it's going to rush the water in during Noah's flood. Every time the tide goes down, it's going to rush the water out, and you're going to get lateral movement of the water every 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes. And it's going to form a new layer. And depending on how the topography of the bottom is as the water rushes over it, it might wipe it clean and start over, or it might make funny deposits because it's going over a weird topography. Watch the video of this guy showing that the layers do not form one at a time, and they do not form vertically, they form horizontally. Just watch the evidence, please. Go ahead.
Principles of geology had been devised, they amazingly had not taken hydraulic conditions into account. Of course, one strata will superpose upon another when sedimentary particles suspended in still water eventually deposit. As soon as the water is disturbed, superposition ceases because the particles are transported in the direction of the current and sorted according to their size. The first major...
Stop. Fossils are sorted in the direction of the current, and according to their particle size, according to their density. They're not sorted by their age at all. Age has nothing to do with this. Watch. Oh, go ahead, play some more.
Your question was to what extent, if any, could these laboratory results confirm the principles of stratigraphy. Continued experiments revealed corroborating evidence that what was taking place was the normal results of sedimentary mechanics. This basic fact had not emerged because of the conviction that sedimentary deposits were time-dependent. The principle of superposition, believed to account for all stages of the geological column, supported the concept of very slow deposition over long periods of time. Experiments on sediment transported by water with varying currents challenged this concept and showed the limited application of the superposition principle. The speed of the water current started at 1 meter per second and gave rise to a deposit of microstrata or laminae prograding downstream. The flow of the current was then reduced to 0.5 meter per second. This provoked the deposit of large particles of sediment. Then, as the deposit thickened, the speed of current was increased back to 1 meter per second, and laminae deposited on the large particles. So the deposit was composed from top to bottom of beds or strata of small particles, large particles, and small particles. The three superposed beds prograded together from upstream to downstream. This demonstrated that the beds or strata did not form one at a time as required by the principle of superposition. They formed simultaneously. Nor did any one bed have the same age at any point as required by the principle of continuity, because they formed together and sideways. Each lateral part of a single bed or strata therefore had a different age. But something else was happening. When the velocity of flow was reduced, a second deposit started forming on top of the first, whilst the first was continuing. The two superposed deposits prograded simultaneously from upstream to downstream. When the velocity of flow was increased, a third deposit started forming on top of the other two, and all three prograded together downstream. Here we have a phenomenon of multiple beds of sediment forming on top of each other, vertically and sideways at the same time, the triggering mechanism having been simple changes of current. The laboratory experiments showed that where there is a water current, one layer does not deposit upon the other, with each layer being older than the one which covers it. This would therefore appear to be a major exception to the principle of superposition. Many parameters were tested, from very slow to very fast currents. None of them, however, provided an example of the principle in operation. The experimental results, therefore, did not confirm the definition that the principle of superposition is a general or inclusive law, exemplified in numerous cases. Could it be that the authors of the principle of superposition had not taken hydraulic conditions into account? This possibility would seem to be confirmed by other experiments which showed that the principle of superposition only applied to very fine sediments depositing in water where there is little or no current. The principle applying in such limited conditions can hardly be considered to be a general or inclusive law applying in numerous cases. The fact that stratification formed parallel to the slope, exceeding an angle of 30 degrees, highlights the inaccuracy of the principle of original horizontality, which states that layers or strata form horizontally. It must be remembered that this principle is used by geologists to interpret past conditions producing the sedimentary rock we see today. Sloping strata suggested to them that movement had taken place, causing originally deposited horizontal strata to be tilted at an angle. The experiments show that sloping strata could simply be the result of sediments depositing on an inclined bed. It was shown in the laboratory that the principle of continuity did not apply to strata forming in a current. The strata formed laterally from upstream to downstream in the direction of the current. They did not superpose successively. Consequently, the stratum created in the laboratory did not have the same age at any point as asserted by the principles of stratigraphy. The stratigraphic principles had been used to obtain age correlations between geological formations separated by distances. This fact indicates that no account had been taken of the effect of local currents in the oceans or seas in which the sediments in these geological formations had been deposited. Strata forming in different parts of the same ocean or in different oceans would be subject to differing hydraulic conditions and could not be considered as continuous. The geological column was conceived on the assumption that the principles of stratigraphy applied as a general law with numerous examples. The laboratory demonstration that the principles of stratification do not apply where there is a current challenges the basis upon which the geological column was formed.
You can watch the whole video. It's been out for many years. Principles in stratification. Okay, let's go back over here to this guy. So, there is no such thing as a fossil record, Clint. There's no such thing. There are fossils by the zillions, okay? None of them talk. None of them have a date stamped on them. And you can't tell the age of the fossil by which layer it came from. And if you find a fossil in the rock layers, you cannot prove it had any children at all. You certainly could not prove it had different children. No animal today can do what you're claiming this rock can do. This poor fish turned into a stone was not capable of turning into anything other than a fish. It had baby fish if it had babies at all. All animals today produce after their kind. Exactly what the Bible said would happen 24 times in the first 7 chapters, okay? There is no fossil record. Fossil record, definition in facts, Britannica, fossil record, guys, there is no such thing. Finding fossils is no problem. There are bazillions of them. They're all over the world. I think it's evidence of rapid burial and of Noah's flood. See, there's no fossils forming today that anybody can find. A whole school of fish fossilized by the Genesis flood. Whole school of fish fossilized together, all swim in the same way. 50-million-year-old fossil captures a swimming school of fish. Really, 50 million. How do you know that? Well, by which layer it came from. Oh, I see, okay. Prehistoric school, a school of extinct fish captured in a fossil that dates to the Eocene epoch. There's no such thing as the Eocene. That's part of the geologic column. It doesn't exist. Look at that. All those fish buried in the act of swimming. I'd say that had to be pretty fast, didn't it? Fossilized fish captured mid-swim offer a rare glimpse into extinct animal behavior. And they swimming in schools developed 50 million years ago. They know they learned to swim 50 million years ago. These are when they're stuck in a rock that's 50 million years old. That's how they know. This is stupid. Tell them all I said so. Stupid. I'll debate them all. Who did this one? Carolyn, I'll debate you, okay? The limestone slab from the Eocene epoch has these thimble-sized fish, coordinated their motion. Wow. They all learned to swim in a school. 259 fish swimming in the same direction. It's unclear what killed the fish, but a suddenly collapsing sand dune, for example, could have buried them in place. Oh, you think maybe like Noah's flood would do that kind of thing underwater? Like underwater mudslides, landslides all over, yeah, all over the world? Okay. Analysis of the fish's position and orientation suggests they followed the same rules of attraction and repulsion that schools of fish do today. As they swim in a school, they automatically stay a certain distance away from their buddies so they don't bang into them, but automatically go in the same direction. And if a predator comes, the whole school turns at 1 minute. It's instant. It's amazing. They call it the law of attraction and repulsion, but there's another name for it, okay? Because the collective behavior is seen in so many animals, including flocks of birds or swarms of insects, scientists believe such behavior evolved long ago. This is called propaganda, okay? Here's a school of fish swimming the same way. Fossil, all the fish. Now, these guys just got stuck, okay? They weren't swimming the same way. I've never seen anything like it. Impeccably preserved Jurassic fish. There is no such thing as a Jurassic period, but it is impeccably preserved. Got the mouth open and everything. Buried and turned to, now it got buried instantly. Probably took a few years to turn to a fossil. But once it's buried in mud and protected from oxygen, it can take its time fossilizing. I don't say fossils form quickly. I say the animals are buried quickly, allowing them to turn to fossils over however long it takes, okay? A farm in England, the unlikely source of a Jurassic jackpot. A treasure trove of 183 million-year-old fossils. How do you know? Because of the layer they come from. Yep. Anyway, they date the layers by the fossils. This is what they do. A fish scales and eyes were some of the soft tissue preserved for more than 180 million years. I've never seen anything like it. You can see the scales, the skin, the spine, even its eyeball is still there. And it happened over millions of years ago, didn't it? John Day, The Ultimate Guide to Fossil Beds. There are fossil beds all over the world where they find just zillions of fossils all tangled up together. How do geologists know how old a rock is? Faunal succession. Similar to the law of superposition, which is not a law at all, that the layer on top is younger. That's not a law. It's a stupid theory to believe. They form sideways. Noah's flood would make all the layers in 1 year. Okay, so there's not a law of superposition. Similar to the law is the law of faunal succession. So which animal evolved after the other one? Which states what groups of fossil animals and plants occur throughout the geologic record in a distinct and identifiable order. Well, you're assuming that evolution happens. Just memorize farm, F-A-R-M. Fish turn to amphibians, amphibians to reptiles, reptiles to mammals. That's the theory. And it's stupid, real stupid. Following this law, it's not a law at all, it's dumb. Sedimentary rocks can be dated by their characteristic fossils. Particularly useful are index fossils. And Clint, you made fun of me for the skit scene that I did there at the university, at the church in Union Center, South Dakota. But it's true. That is how they date the fossils, by the layers they find them in. And they date the layers by the fossils they contain. There are limestone, quite a few different types of limestone. What's the difference between Jurassic limestone and Cambrian limestone? They're both limestone. How do you know? Well, one would have different fossils. Yeah, right. You date the layers by the fossils. Fossil forms occur in the rocks, however, provide the chief means of establishing a geologic time scale. Wait a minute. How do they establish the scale? By the fossils. That's what I said. This is Britannica. With the timing of the emergence and disappearance of widespread species from the fossil record being used to delineate the beginning and ending of ages. So they tell when the age started and stopped by an index fossil. That's what you said that I was wrong about. And no, you are wrong, Clint, okay? I was right. Again, living things play critical roles in the development of geologic timescales. because they have undergone evolutionary changes over geologic time. That's an assumption. You're assuming that your family tree going from an amoeba to a human is true, and then you base your fossils in that sequence based upon your preconceived idea. Evolution didn't happen at all. Index fossils are used to date the rock layers. Age of layers determines the age of fossils found in it. Wait, what happened now? Scientists use index fossils to date the layers, so they use the fossil to date the layer, and the age of the layer determines the age of the fossil. This is the same earth science book. If a kid isn't confused after studying this, something's wrong. Circular reasoning. Here, the intelligent layman has long suspected circular reasoning in the use of rocks to date fossils and fossils to date rocks. The geologist has never bothered to think of a good reply, feeling the explanations are not worth the trouble as long as the work brings results. It cannot be denied from a strictly philosophical standpoint, geologists are arguing in a circle. The succession of organisms was determined by the study of their remains embedded in the rocks, and the age of the rocks was determined by the organisms. Encyclopedia Britannica. They've known this for 70 years. Circular reasoning, okay? Ever since William Smith, fossils have been and still are the best and most accurate method of correlating the rocks in which they occur. Apart from very modern examples, which are really archaeology, last 40, 50,000 years, I can think of no cases of radioactive decay being used to date fossils. Wow, this is 30 years after they invented radioactive decay. They still weren't using it to date fossils, were they? Radiometric dating would not have been feasible if the geologic column had not been erected first. American Journal of Science. Paleontologists cannot operate this way. There's no way simply to look at a fossil and say how old it is, unless you know the age of the rocks it comes from. This is Niles Eldredge. He's a brand name, big boy. He's an evolutionist, big time, okay? So you can't look at a fossil and say how old it is unless you know the age of the rock, okay? This poses something of a problem. If we date the rocks by the fossils, how can we then turn around and talk about patterns of evolutionary change through time in the fossil record? Good question, Niles. Eldredge, did anybody answer it for you? The rocks do date the fossils, but the fossils date the rocks more accurately. Oh, I see. That is real stupid, real stupid. Circularity is inherent. We have to use circular reasoning or it won't work. The charge of circular reasoning can be ignored, it can be denied, or it can be admitted. Why don't you just admit it, Clint? Yes, it's circular reasoning. And yes, we are imagining the age of this fossil by the age of the layer, and we're imagining the age of the layer by the fossil. Our authorities maintaining that evolution is documented by geology, and geology is documented by evolution. Isn't this a circular argument? Biologists help. Yes, it's a circular argument, and there's no help for it. Give it up, it's dumb. The oldest layers are obviously the oldest. This is from the Scopes monkey trial, 1925. They said the bottom layers are older, and that's not true. The layers form horizontally, and you can get 6 or 8 or 10 layers forming at the same time, horizontally. So you could have a fossil up here that's actually older than a fossil down here. Think about it twice. Let's see, limestone is found all through the geologic column. What's the difference between 100 million year old Jurassic limestone and 600 million year old Cambrian limestone? What's the difference? The index fossils. Yeah. Limestone, let's see, where is it? Let's see, no, this one. Massive limestone formation, embedded limestone. Wow, here's limestone. More, and some limestone mixed in that one. There's some limestone there, some limestone there. Wow. How do you know the age? By the fossils. Grand Canyon, red wall limestone and mauve limestone. Wow, there we go. And the index fossil, the trilobite. Trilobites are good index fossils. If you find a trilobite in a rock layer, probably formed 500 to 600 million years ago. There it is, the trilobite, bottom of the geologic column. Here it is right here, in the Ordovician and the Cambrian era. There's no such thing as either one. Here's a human shoe print where a human stepped on and smashed a trilobite. Wait. How can a human step on a trilobite with a shoe on? The guy's got a shoe on, not barefoot. Somebody, modern human with a shoe, stepped on a trilobite. Human shoe print with a trilobite. Found in 1968. Utah's Geological Survey verified it's not a fake. Well, how do you answer this, Clint? How could somebody with a shoe on step on a trilobite? Well, maybe aliens visited the planet and they wore shoes. Yeah, that'll do it. There's a better answer. Your whole geologic column is stupid, real stupid. It doesn't exist. Give it up. Some of the trilobites are pretty big. They have the most complicated eye ever in the world. The most sophisticated eye lens ever. The eyes of the early trilobites have never been exceeded. There's the eye of a trilobite. Trilobite fossils make good index fossils. If you find a trilobite, it's probably 500 or 600 million years old. Okay. There's all kinds of trilobites, a whole bunch of different kinds. Very, very similar to the deep sea isopod. Mount Blanco Museum, which is closed now, had all kinds of trilobites on display. You go to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, up there. I preached up there in Barrow, Alaska. It's as far north as you get, way at the top. I can't point over my slide. Can I get out? I can't get out in front of it. Never mind. Okay. They said, we have dozens of Baltic isopods in our museum. They plug up screens in the water intake at the Kanoko oil water retreatment plant in Alaska. They're still sucking them in. The Tule Spring fossil beds. There are fossil beds all over the place. That's not a problem. Dinosaur footprints are found. Hundreds of them are found. Okay? Fossil Cabin Museum. Well, Como Bluffs. Fossil sites in North America. Finding fossils is not a problem. There are trillions of fossils. Fluorescent Colorado has, let's see, petrified trees. And all this fit in a dot smaller than a proton. Now, that's a problem. Finding fossils is not a problem. Claiming they prove anything evolved to something else, that's a problem. When you find a fossil, you could not prove it had any children at all. Why do you claim it over millions of years they changed to something else? Fish today always have baby fish, don't they? Anybody know of any exceptions? There are none. Ghost Ranch, Museum of Paleontology. Claiming fossils don't show rapid burial in a flood, now that's a problem. They show rapid burial. And people are using dinosaur fossils to turn kids away from God. And Clint, you are using your incredible knowledge of fossils to turn children away from believing the Bible, aren't you? You have 600-some thousand subscribers, and you have people come to science camps, people come to you looking for truth. And you're lying to them about the fossils being millions of years old. You should be teaching them about Noah's flood and how the judgment of God is coming. And you better get right with God. You should use your knowledge, Clint, that you've gained to draw people to the Lord. But you are driving them away by the thousands. And you're going to answer to God. There are these tangled up bones in fossil beds. Well, because the ocean current would be swirling around during Noah's flood. It would really be ocean current swirl around today. And there's huge garbage patch. Let's see. Eastern garbage patch, North Pacific. Western garbage patch. You know, there's garbage patch out there in the Pacific because of the swirling water. There's 3 times bigger than Texas. That's a big garbage patch floating in the ocean. 3 times bigger than Texas. So they decided to clean it up. Yeah, right. Where are you going to put it? In the Atlantic Ocean? Garbage patch state. 3 times bigger than Texas. Floating trash. It's because the ocean swirls around. Well, during Noah's flood, you would get this on a grand scale, and the bones of the animals that died, that drowned, they would tend to swirl together, and then when they finally get buried, they'd be in a big tangled up blob, just like we find the fossil beds. Garbage patch has an area 1.6 million square kilometers, 3 times the size of France. That's a big garbage patch. Trash Island, is it a myth? No, it's real, okay? Oceanography, anyway, the swirl, look at all these fossils all tangled together. And instead of admitting the obvious, there's evidence of a flood, they will say, well, these bones are millions of years old. It was a local flood. Here's all the fossil sites in America, the major ones. These dots show where the fossils are found. Pretty much all over the world, all over America anyway. Fossils are common. Let's see, what do they say in this one? A herd of centrosaurs drowned. Wow. I wonder how they drowned. Let's see. Largest dinosaur graveyard. Mass die-off resulting in a monster storm. From a monster storm. Oh, like today's hurricanes. But not like Noah's flood. No, you're not allowed to say that, I know. Read the article for yourself. Anyway, we've gone too long. Clint, I'm sorry. You are wrong. You are lying to your clients. You're lying to your viewers. There is no geologic column. There is no fossil record. You do date the fossils by the layers, and you date the layers by the fossils. You do use circular reasoning. There's no such thing as an index fossil. Have I made myself clear? Call 855-BIG-DINO, and we'll schedule you for a debate. If you don't like what I said, You can do it on your show, on your program, or my program, or a neutral program. Any of you guys believe in evolution? Come on. You got a bunch of keyboard warriors going to type nasty responses, but you won't face me in a debate, will you? Okay, I'm done, brother. Let's go. I'm sorry for going so long here tonight. Clint, oh yeah, a couple questions here. How do you think we're in the tribulation? I think we are in the tribulation now. I suspect it started. I don't know. We'll see. It starts when they make a treaty to rebuild the temple. Did they do the treaty in secret? Possibly. They don't want to upset the Muslims. We'll see. Don't know. Who knows what goes on behind those closed doors, okay? Really enjoy your videos. Do you have videos for elementary kids? How would you answer that one, Bobby? Do we have videos for elementary kids?
We have curriculum series. We have the biology algebra.
Danny the dinosaur stuff.
I did quite a few videos for kids. These here, basic introduction to physical science, introduction to earth science. But I've done quite a few books and stuff for children. I've written a lot of books for children. The Adventures of the Great Pumpkin, okay? Let's see. Some books I wrote. My grandkids, Haley and Grandpa Visit Israel. It would be a coloring book you can do and tell the story. Kaylee and the Pelican, okay? So these are all, they're all on my website, drdino.com. How about this one? When I was a boy. Well, Dan, Grandpa, what's it like when you were a boy? Well, I just told the story here to my grandkids. Okay. So yes, we have a lot of stuff. Go to drdino.com. Okay? Any more? Let's see. Love your show. I have a question. Do we say God's name when we breathe in and out? I've heard that the resonance, the frequency, and all that stuff. I don't know how do you verify that? Could be. We'll see. Don't know. Okay? When it comes to it, the firmament was a physical canopy that was open during Noah's flood. No. The physical canopy overhead shattered and snowed down. It was the fountains of the deep underneath. The crust of the earth cracked, and the water underneath came shooting up. That's what the Bible says. The fountains of the deep broke open. And you no longer exist. Okay, let's see. What was that one? Kent, as opposed to doing something useful. Just an atheist attempting to gain fame via tearing down another. Kent, as opposed to doing something useful. Robert. Oh, you're talking about Clint? I don't know if he's trying to become famous. But I'll take him on any time. They're real brave when I'm not in front of them, aren't they? Okay. Let's see, question. What does SIG disagree with you on?
I think it's AIG.
Oh, AIG, okay. I looked at their website materials. They say the same things as you. Yeah, I admit minor stuff. I don't think it's worth fighting over. I recommend their stuff, okay? Now, they use the wrong Bible, and he's a Calvinist. I disagree with some things like that, but he's an ally. He's not on my team, but they're allies, okay? Russians and Americans had a common enemy, the Germans, and they were allies during World War II. We disagreed with the Russians on all kinds of stuff, but we got a bigger enemy out there called Hitler, okay? So I can work with other creation ministries. I recommend, watch my videos. I think I recommend all of them. They don't recommend me, do they? Oh, well, they're lost. Okay, look at all the flowers and tomatoes and pumpkins, and what did we get?
Yeah, here's a good one for you.
What do you think the music from the stars sounded like? The Bible talks about the music of the stars. So there's a book. Is that me? Oh. I suspect, couldn't prove this to anybody. The crystalline canopy that used to protect the world, maybe 10 miles up, a couple inches thick, the radio waves from the stars would be transformed through that crystal into music. And they could hear the music of the stars. Maybe it was teaching the gospel story by music with what now is perverted into the zodiac. And you really are supposed to start with Virgo the Virgin and end with Leo the Lion. And now it's all perverted into the horoscope, okay? I covered that in video 7 also.
Are Hollywood stars different?
Are what now?
Hollywood.
Hollywood stars. Yeah, they're very different, okay? All right, enough? Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, see you tomorrow night for comments on comments. Any comments, questions? Some of you atheists, come on, I need to get some more debates this year. I really would like to get to 500 this year. Help me out, please, just for me, okay? I'll go easy on you. I'll do it with one hand behind my back and one eye closed, if that'll help. Okay? Go ahead. You ended all of them, TikTokers and everything?
Just the TikTokers, you're still alive right now.
I'm still alive with who?
If you want to be.
No, I want to go